Hello and welcome to the American Fitbaw Cast. I don't even know what number episode we're on these
I
days.
think it's 56, but they're kind of
56.
racing by. I know it's just like, it feels like last week we were on 32 and
It really does.
7 getting done. It's just like, here we are barreling on. We're what, a year and a half through when we started?
Something like that, yeah.
It's mental.
Flying by. I've missed the last couple as well, so...
Part-timer.
Yeah, something like that. And the listeners will notice there is only two voices again this week, so it's just me and you, Steve.
There's nothing wrong with that, is there?
Yeah, it's just a bit of, well, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I'm the one that always makes to see them go on a lot longer, but I'm quite convicted that they might not make that happen.
Yeah,
It's
so
not going to be an hour-long opus.
You were targeting a half-hour episode tonight, so
we're going to reach that.
The listeners will already be able to have a look at the length of the episode and see how much rambling Steve has done.
Let's see how wrong I was. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Was I 5 minutes wrong? Was I 50 minutes wrong? Who knows? Stay tuned to find out.
Yeah. Right, let's have a quick chat about some news of the NFL, something that I find quite interesting. The NFL have organised a private workout for Colin Kaepernick and invited all 32 teams. What do you make of this?
Right, so it is really interesting because I almost feel they've backed themselves into a corner from the whole lawsuit thing, and they feel like they need to do it just to show face in the public and go, like, no, we're not anti-Kaepernick. There's nothing wrong with what he did. It was never about us versus him. It was always about his abilities. So do you know what? We're going to put a big showcase on for him, and we're going to roll out the red carpet. Every team can come down, and then if he gets picked up, great. And if not, then it's absolute 100% proof that no team actually wants him. Right? That's the showpiece. However, why did they put it on a Saturday, which is not a traditional workout day? Normally that would be a Tuesday. So now you've got teams that are like, well, we were going to send someone, but it's the day before game day now, so actually we can't. So yeah. That's a bit rubbish. So I'm not really sure. kind of stuck on.
Do you think it was part of his out of court settlement that they would do it? Did you think he agreed that if by week 10 of next year I'm not signed on a roster, you have to give me a workout and invite all the teams? You have to put that on for me.
I like that thought. And they probably would be like, yeah, fine, whatever. Thinking he would have maybe got a shot by now. I don't know. So they were meant to release a list of people in attendance, but for some reason the NFL did a 180 and decided they're not going to release that now, which Eric Reed picked up and retweeted and went, no surprises, or something like that. He's always at best bud, and he's obviously got re-signed. But there does seem to be a bit of a blacklist on poor Kaepernick at the minute. So,
do you see a market for him?
Well, see, that's the bit I don't know. He kind of did. This is like being completely subjective about his actual NFL play, which is really what he should be about. Not all the drama that surrounds it. He did show some flashes, but there was always he just did seem to regress. He did really good in, I think it was year 2, where he went on a bit of a tear in the playoffs, but he was one of the earlier running quarterbacks that they didn't quite know how to defend against.
Yeah.
The problem we've got now, you've got other teams such as... Okay, apology. I'll probably have to put a really stupid edit in there now where I got a bit disrupted in my thoughts, so it's probably not a very seamless link to wherever I was in the Kaepernick chat.
Definitely isn't now.
Back on point. Kaepernick, yes. So he played quite well to begin with, and then he had a bit of a. You're laughing at. What a disaster day! Can't he do anything right? That's like 30 minutes in breach. I'm doing it to myself. Right, so Kaepernick, right. So, but now the NFL has moved on in his couple of years out of the league, though, and actually running quarterbacks are more the norm. So purely from a backup quarterback / running scout team, my head says he's got a market to emulate like a Lamar Jackson or a scramble Russell Wilson type, all those things in practice. Now, unless other teams, maybe teams have people that are adequate enough to do that, and then it could be the only thing that's stopping Cap is maybe salary demands, because he probably does view himself as starting caliber. The money's moved on since when he was last in the league. So if he's coming out and saying, yeah, cool, sign, 20 million, everyone's probably like, you'll get 3.
He was he was a mediocre starting quarterback towards the end of his
that's it.
time in the league. So he's a mediocre starter when he was playing regularly. He hasn't played for 3 full seasons.
Yeah.
Who's gonna want that guy? I just don't see why a team would bother, because
Jamarcus Russell's probably got a better chance at trying to get back in the league. And that says it all, really. Do you even know who Jamarcus Russell is? I know he just gone ahead of
straight over my head.
Oh, there's a story. Arguably one of the biggest quarterback busts ever. So Jamarcus Russell was signed for the Raiders. But always had weight issues, struggled, didn't really play that well at quarterback.
Is that why he said he was the biggest bust quarterback? Yeah, figuratively and literally. I can't even speak. Right? But what was even funnier was, like, they thought he was not doing his game study right, so they gave him. I saw this. Yeah, right. Okay.
So they gave him blank tapes, and then when he came in the next day and asked him about what he's seen on all the blitzes, he just sat there and literally went, "Oh yeah, I've seen this and that and this and that."
Yeah.
Absolutely waffled his way through it. So he was done. He was gone and done. But he was picked up before the rookie contract came in, so I think he still got something crazy like $40 million for being an absolute disaster. So yeah, it was quite fun. Anyway, he's still got a better chance to get back in the league than Kaepernick anyway. So poor Colin Kaepernick. Yeah, too much is going on outside of the football world.
Yeah, I think so.
Unfortunately, it's too poisoned, and the media wouldn't give whatever team it is a break, and I think a lot of teams, that's what puts them off the most.
Don't want it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just
don't want that scrutiny.
Get away.
Yeah,
regardless of playing ability.
Certainly interesting to see what happens there over the next 10 days or so.
Yeah.
Right, on to the games from last week. I'm just going to talk about a couple of the games. So I'm going to talk about the big Monday night game, the Seahawks at the Niners. But first, I'll hand it over to you. And you wanted to talk about the only game that you watched over the weekend, pretty much.
So no surprises, it's a Sunday 6 o'clock game for me, because that is the only game I actually get to see from start to end with no problems whatsoever throughout the week. And when it got announced, you dropped it in the chat. I was like, "Oh, big game on Sunday, can't wait." And I was thinking, no, have they? And I went and I was like, oh my God, it is. It's Arizona at Tampa Bay. Whew, what an absolute barn burner this, yeah. Actually, well, it ended up 30 points, 27, was really competitive, and was actually not that bad a game to watch, given all what could happen. Because this could have been an absolute disaster. The biggest thing that I couldn't get my head around was how ridiculously empty the stadium was. It was so poorly attended, it's not even funny. I wouldn't be surprised if that was barely a quarter full. The whole of the second tier was literally blank, with the odd one or two person sitting in there. It was unreal.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Disgusting, really. And that's why there's all these rumblings about why the NFL want to maybe longer term chuck a team over here, because the London games were oversubscribed by something nonsense like 12 times. 12 times as many people registered for tickets as there was tickets available. So they knew fine they were going to sell out. It's mental. Anyway, that's not actually about the game as such. So the big takeaway that I took from this game, so Tampa Bay won, which I had put in my prediction, so we've got something right for a change. But
you got 3 out of 3 this week. We'll get to that later on, but you got 3 out of 3.
Oh, get out of here! Oh, God, so it did. Hey! Happy days. Right. What I took out of this actually was having a look at Arizona for the first time this season with the new offense, with Kyler Murray at quarterback. And he is ridiculously good as in terms of efficient. It's like death by 1,000 cuts type of offense. It's quick little dunk passes here and there and whatever. And occasionally he'll throw out a nice bomb. Andy Isabella might, tear down one side and whatever. But
or Christian Kirk, and then Christian Kirk, and then Christian Kirk.
3 touchdowns, 138 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yep. So there was quite a few big plays in this.
Yeah. So 3 touchdowns, 100 and something yards, and he was sat on my bench in fantasy. Yay!
How much did that cost you, points wise? 30 odd.
30 odds, yeah.
Ooh, that's
horrible.
A heartbreaker. But Arizona's Arizona, the only thing that Arizona struggles with, I think, is their secondary. I think that is the biggest hole you need to fix. And if you fix that, you're not a million miles away.
So this off-season, I think Steve Keim should be looking to trade Pat Peterson away.
Yes. You called it on Sunday after the first pass he tried to defend. You're like, nah, gone.
Yeah, it's time to go.
Now. No point.
Yeah.
Is it ring rust from being out for the 6 games? Because what's this now? Week 10. So he's in 4 games back.
Yeah, that's like full pre-season plus first game. You should be up to speed by now.
Yeah, you're right. He should be.
I just think it's time to move on. Try and see what you can get from him. You probably get second rounder maybe.
If you tried to get rid of him,
even get a first
just before this season. No, I wouldn't have. Not for the time of they're going to do it. If they'd done it before the trade deadline, they would have tried to get. I don't know if a team genuinely would have spent a first on him. But getting rid of him just before free agency and whatever, you're kind of dangling in the hope that you might get a second. Because otherwise you're going to get your third compensatory, so you're going to try and push and get a second. You can maybe settle for a high third because that'll be better than your compensatory by about 25 places, depending on what team he goes to. But yeah, you're not going to get a huge amount, I think. So
I agree. But time to move on from him. I also wouldn't be averse to him trying to ship David Johnson as well.
Ooh. I think Kendrick, because he seems to really come in there and quite enjoyed it, a mini resurgence.
I mean, it's very early days. He's only contracted to the end of the year, so there's the whole, do we actually manage to hold on to him at the end of the year, or does he go somewhere else?
All right, let him test the market and see how much money because you've then got to pay him. That's the problem, eh? And is it Chase Edmonds?
Chase Edmonds is the third as well, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's done okay. He's injured. He's a second-year rookie, so he's still early days. For a couple of years.
Kenyon Drake's going to be good value at what he gives you, and cheap as well. He's going to play for not a huge amount of money as well, because he's at that point of his career where he's been dangled, or he could have gone. He didn't quite make it in Miami, and considering how much of a disaster their season's been. Did he get released or traded?
Traded.
Was it traded? All right, okay. That's not so bad then.
Yeah, it was traded for not very much, and it was a 5th rounder or something like that.
Yeah. But so Tampa Bay they did okay. They did enough to win. It was kind of I think it wasn't for them trying to win, I think that sounds really weird, but Jameis Winston did his best Jameis Winston impression. 358 yards, which was fine, but he had another 2 interceptions. He was a joint league leader coming into the game at 16 giveaways with Daniel Jones. And I know that certainly by the third quarter, when Jameis has had his 2 interceptions, Daniel Jones had only given the ball away once, so he was the outright leader. Whether that's how he finished, I don't quite know, but and the other stat that I'd seen about the Jameis Winston thing is the fact that since he came into the league, he's given away the ball 95 times, something like 17 more than anybody else in that time period.
Yeah, it's outrageous how often he gives the ball away.
I called it a few weeks ago when he threw that 5 interception disaster. Was that the London game? against the
Yes.
Panthers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was him done, and he's not really doing anything to kind of back it up since. No rebound.
Yeah, as I've said to you previously as well, I'm convinced that Andy Dalton will be the starter in Tampa next year.
Absolutely. I don't know if we've discussed it on here yet in the last couple of weeks, but if not, you're calling it out and you're getting it and recording in the media out there.
It makes far too much sense not to happen.
Yeah.
I think if you look at how the success that Arians had with Carson Palmer in Arizona, he's just going to replicate that with Dalton. He just seems like a Bruce Arians type guy.
Yep.
And he's the type of solid, reliable quarterback that he'll be able. I mean, if Dalton ends up in Tampa Bay next year, they won't go to the playoffs next year, but before the end of Arians' contract, they will be a playoff team.
Yep. And that's ridiculous to think, considering where they've been the last couple of seasons. If you say to them that 2 years from now you are going to be in the playoffs, you'd be like, what? Such is the way of the NFL.
Yeah, but I suppose look at the 49ers, who were what, number 1 overall pick 3 years ago?
Yes. Something like that.
I think. And from there...
Yeah, I think it was 3 seasons ago. 1 in 15, weren't they?
Something like that, yeah. The year before the Browns atrocity.
The back-to-back atrocities. They went 0-16 and then 1-15.
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress. Funnily, no surprise, we're halfway through my scheduled inverted commas time, and I basically haven't stopped talking yet, so I think we'll move on from this game and chat about...
Not quite. There is one other thing I want to highlight from
right.
your game. It's Chandler Jones again, because you can't not speak about Chandler Jones. So
you absolutely fanboy over him.
Well,
but
he
quite
leads
rightly.
the league. He leads the league in sacks, joint with what's his face from the Bucks.
Shaq Barrett.
Yeah, he's got 11.5 sacks. He also leads the league in forced fumbles as well. And if he did finish the season leading both those, I think he'd only be the 7th to do so. And should be right in amongst the defensive MVP candidates as well.
He's been absolute money for you since you traded for him. What did you give away?
Did
you give away a first rounder?
Oh, it was before my time, so I can't remember.
Okay. But the point being is, it doesn't matter what you gave away for him, because his production on the field since you've traded is worth easily what you gave away.
Yeah, he has more sacks he's more sacks than anyone else in the league since he came to Arizona.
Yeah. And that's all you can ask for. Yeah. Brilliant.
So he's probably isn't mentioned much in the defensive MVP stakes, but he should be, because he is.
It's big market v small market problem, isn't it?
It is, definitely.
Put him in New York or LA.
Yeah.
Watch it. No one would shut up. No one would stop talking about him whole season.
Or put him in an otherwise good defense as well, because overall the Cardinals' defense isn't very good. But the fact that he's still able to bring out that production when those alongside him aren't of an elite standard, I think it makes it even more impressive.
Yep.
Yeah. Right, so from that game, we will move into 2 of Arizona's divisional rivals. We'll talk about the blockbuster Monday night game. What a game it was as well. So it's such a good game that I can't even remember what the score finished.
Oh, sorry.
So the Seattle Seahawks went into Santa Clara, not San Francisco, because
it's not actually San Francisco, yeah.
3 hours down the road. And they came out with a win, 27-24 in overtime against the 49ers, handing the 49ers their first defeat of the season. So Seattle moved to 8-2, and San Francisco are on 8-1.
They were the last unbeaten team coming into Monday night, and thankfully that's finished, so they don't need to. That annoyingly hangs over every unbeaten team, and it seems to get worse when you get past about game 6. Every week that goes by, it just feels to me like it gets exponentially worse for the team that's undefeated. The media scrutiny, whatever, So it's actually quite a nice distraction to get rid of.
Yeah, I suppose so. But they'll obviously not have wanted to get rid of it because they'll have wanted to have doubled that
Probably.
streak they were on. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, this was a brilliant game. 49ers were 10-0 up at the end of the first quarter, and then 2 quarters later they were 21-10 down. So went back and forward, and then obviously 24-24 by the end of regulation time, with the Niners rookie kicker Chase McLaughlin, that's his name, yeah, made a clutch field goal to tie the scores and take it to overtime, and then could not repeat the feat in overtime, where he had a reasonably straightforward field goal chance to win the game and shanked it quite horrifically, to be honest. It was a decent hold. There was nothing wrong with the snap. The holder did his job fine. He just missed by a long
fluffed
shot.
it. Ouch.
Yeah.
Heartbreaker.
Yeah, but I suppose that's what happens when you're missing your Pro Bowl kicker, as the Niners are at the moment, with Robbie Gould out injured just now.
Yeah.
So yeah. What did I take from this game? I took from this game that the Niners offense isn't all that. Now, mitigating factors, and I'm going to put them out there before anyone just accuses me of you're a Cardinals fan and you hate the Niners, because as much as that's true.
You hate the Seahawks just as bad.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. So 49ers were missing Kittle in this game. And he's ruled out again next week when they play the Cardinals. Thank God for that. Sanders also left the game injured as well. So that's the two premier receiving options left the game. But that doesn't excuse the fact that although Garoppolo was only intercepted once, he should have been intercepted probably 3 times, maybe even 4. There was one he threw and it hit a Seattle defender on his numbers in his chest. And he wasn't able to haul it in. I just feel like his so far this year, his defense has been able to put him in positions where he hasn't had to be exceptional to go and win games. That wasn't the case in this game because his defense were facing an exceptional quarterback in Russell Wilson, who was able to go with them. And then once the Seahawks were ahead, I thought Garoppolo looked really, really panicky. On the final drive where they did get the scores level, he should have been intercepted at least once on that drive. And you wouldn't be talking about how the rookie kicker missed his kick to lose the game. You would have been talking about how Garoppolo gave away a very easy interception that he shouldn't have given away. That's what I took from that, really.
Yeah, he lost a couple of fumbles as well, which it didn't really help. So, given if he'd had the 4 odd interceptions that he could have had, plus a couple of lost fumbles, he'd be getting savaged right now, and the game wouldn't have been anywhere near as close as what it was. I think you're kind of right. He's only really had one absolute standout game this season, whereas a lot of the other top teams and top quarterbacks are having multiple games where they're easily causing havoc. I mean, this week, albeit, yes, it was against the Bengals. Lamar Jackson had a perfect passer rating last week. Boy, is ridiculous. Russell Wilson
his run
has been playing. Yeah, it was amazing.
Lamar Jackson's, we have to talk about that just because we've segued into it. Lamar Jackson's run for his touchdown, if you have not seen it, go watch it. It's the fact that he gets about halfway through it. He's in the middle of the field. There's 3 defenders around him. Most quarterbacks go to ground. He spins. It's like
spin move, basically breaks some ankles. Defenders are like flying all over the place.
And all of a sudden, the 3 guys are behind him, and he just runs in for the touchdown. He is an absolute freak in terms of his run game. It's something special.
It is amazing. Yeah, I hope he stays around the league for a while and he doesn't regress at any point. But it is something to see. But anyway, so the big quarterbacks that are playing good quite consistently. Jimmy G is just not quite at that same caliber. Yeah, I mean,
and although I suppose to counter that and go against my own argument a little bit here, the the other team that obviously had the second longest undefeated streak this season, the Patriots, as much as we don't like to bump them up, but they're another team whose defense so far this year have been the thing that's carrying them, and Brady and that offense haven't really ticked.
Nope.
So it is the same sort of thing. But
San Fran's running game had been what had helped them out for the early part of the season as well, particularly through the first 8 games and how they were getting on. They didn't really show up this week. The Seahawks pretty much pinned them down. Tevin Coleman did get a 22-yarder, but the longest outside of that was an 8-yard run. None of the running backs were really kind of doing anything of any good.
Yeah, so Coleman with a 22-yarder, but he was 9 attempts for 40 yards. So it's 8 attempts for 18, basically. Overall, 27 attempts for 87 yards. It's
3.2
not
average.
Much.
Yeah, take that 22-yard round out there, and you're down at 2 and a bit. It's not great, really.
You compare that to the Seahawks; they were 34 attempts for 147 yards. So a 4.3 yard average. So 2 runs and they're getting pretty much the first down, whereas 2 runs for the Niners is still leaving them with 4 yards to get.
Yeah, which is just slightly too far.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, bit of a defensive blowout. Both teams had 5 sacks, which is always nice to see. There was one sack in particular. What's the boy's name again? DJ Jones went directly through the center to the point it was like a bull rush that I haven't seen in a long while. The center just literally got shoved to his backside, absolutely pushed over. He basically ran straight over him and took out Wilson. It was something unreal. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah. But all things said, I think this is 2 playoff teams come the end of the year. Although I wouldn't be that surprised if the wheels fell off San Francisco after that first defeat a little bit. And they're 8-1 at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if they're 9-4 in a few weeks' time. I'm giving them 9 because they're playing Arizona this week, and I do expect them to bounce back.
So I put a graphic in the chat. I don't know if you remember it. So they had they were 8-0, and it was a bit of a playful cartoon that someone had put up about, and it was the 8 remaining games on the schedule, and it was talking about they were scoring off the X's about how they were going to go undefeated. But if you looked at the 8 teams they were facing, they had obviously this game against Seattle, then it was the Arizona game, and I think then Green Bay's next on the schedule, which isn't going to be fun. They play the Rams again. They've got Seahawks second time. The only other gimme I thought you had, other than potentially the Cards game, and even that I'm not 100% sold on at the minute, is the Falcons. They've got the Falcons on tap.
So their schedule from here on in is Cardinals, so I expect them 9-1 there. Mm-hmm. Packers 9-2. Yep. Ravens 9-3.
Yep.
Saints 9-4.
Yep.
Falcons 10-4.
Yep.
Rams could go either way, and then they finish up at the Seahawks.
Yeah. So they could be sitting outside looking in at 10-6, depending on how results go.
They could, yeah.
Which if you went 8-0 and you never made it in a wild card for some random head-to-head, or something like that. Oh, it'd be awful.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Imagine it. Oh, you'd love it, yeah. But 49ers fans would be sitting there going, oh my God. I don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, that's a pretty spectacular fall from this point of the season. But the schedule isn't that good for them. They did actually, if you look at the schedule, it's very split. First 8 were quite easy. Second 8, disaster.
Yeah. It is a tough run in that they've got there. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Right, let's move on to our predictions, which we gave a brief mention of earlier. So,
what was that you mentioned again earlier?
We'll get there, Steve. We'll get there.
Okay.
So last week we went Cardinals at Bucks, Chargers at Raiders, Vikings at Cowboys, which were obviously won by the Bucks, Raiders, and Vikings, which is how Steve predicted it. So well done.
Yes.
Gav and I got 2 each. I obviously went for the Cardinals because I couldn't not. and they got beat. Gav went for the Cowboys to beat the Vikings, which seemed a strange pick to me, but hey.
No, it was actually quite a good discussion back and forward, to be honest. He made a lot of good points. I can't recall them, because as soon as you're talking about the Cowboys, I kind of go into a bit of a slumber. As much as I am as neutral as generally anyone can be, I still have some teams that I favour over others, and unfortunately, I just can't really warm much to the Cowboys. They're definitely
You're not
way
a fan
down.
of America's team and all of that.
I was a Cowboys fan in my teenage years because it was the Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin Super Bowls that I watched.
Right. So you were a glory hunter.
Right. Well, that was the only game they used to show on Channel 4 when I was like a young kid. And I'd be stupid and stay up on that Sunday night, 1 in the morning when I'm like 13, thinking of the bee's knees. School on the Monday was an absolute disaster, but joys having a TV in your bedroom. Hence why my kids are not getting them. So I was always a bit of a Cowboys fan to begin with, but then I had a big break from watching the NFL. But in the last sort of 10, 11 years since I've been back, I've just decided to go neutral pretty much.
Yeah. Right. So on to predictions that we're going with for this week then. We don't have Gav's predictions for these games as of yet, but we will get them at some point and make sure we have them before the games start this weekend. First up, Jaguars at Colts. Steve, what are you thinking?
So, 2 weeks ago, this would have gone the opposite way to what I think will happen now. I don't think Brissett's likely to be back, is he? He was out last week because he had his bad leg injury. Well, I don't say bad. He had a leg injury, which ruled him out for last weekend. And their backup's Brian Hoyer, I think, if I remember rightly.
Yep.
And he didn't do that great. So if you've got him in there again, yes, okay, he's had a week's more practice, but he's playing a Jags defense. They've just come off a bye week, haven't they? They were off this week. So
Brissett practiced an entire on Wednesday. So it does seem that he'll be back in this weekend.
Oh, okay. Right. And this is Foles' first game back as well, because, of course, straight after the London game, when Marone came back, he turned around and said, actually, I'll give it a few days before I decide. And then what felt like 2 hours later, I went, Foles is starting. I think it was a day, but it was a fairly quick decision, and I get why they decided to do that. I thought, let's just not cause any havoc. Let's just decide now. Boom, Foles is coming back. He's the guy. We've paid him 90 odd million quid or whatever it is. So really, your kind of hands partly forced. Minshew's been great for us, but thankfully that last quarter in the London game gave them enough of an out to go. He's okay. He's just learning. He's the kid. He can slowly slide back into backup role, and we'll go back with Foles. So I'm going to stick with the Jags. I'm going to stick with my gut feeling of the Jags. And I think it's more because I think the Jags defense will be able to limit Indy more than what the offense might be able to beat them.
I'm going with the Colts.
So we've already got somebody who's going to do better than someone else this week. Brilliant. Love it.
Yep. I just think that, Brissett has been okay this year. Will Foles manage to slip back in quickly and perform well? I'm not sure. So I'm going to go with the Colts. Particularly, it's in Indy, so Colts. Next game, Bears at Rams, two teams who are not fulfilling the preseason expectations that were placed upon them.
This game, if you looked at the schedules on week 1, you'd be like, oh my goodness, roll on week 11. This is going to be absolute. This is going to be like 1 versus 2 in the NFC side. That's what people were calling. It's now a case of loser is officially out, I think. Both teams have an out. Well, mathematically, you can still go, right? But I mean, we're
So
talking
it's
about the
the
reality of where you are in the season and what you have to do. You have to, like, both teams are not far off having to run the table, really.
Yeah. So the Bears are 4-5 and the Rams are 5-4.
Yeah. So Rams are in a slightly more favourable position because the 4 losses. You know, I realistically, you don't want any more than 6. Is what your absolute minimum is if you're wanting to try and get in there, because many a time a 10-6 team has missed out in the playoffs. Really, you want 11-5 because that's absolute. You know, if you don't win your division, you're definitely in as a wild card at 11-5.
Yeah.
But so the Rams are in a slightly better position because they can give up 2 games between now and the end of the season. Chicago's only got 1. They've got 1 loss on the docket, and the problem I find with Chicago is their offense and Mitch Trubisky. I don't know why everything has fallen out. Everything they did good last year is just not happening this year.
So the Bears, they started this season 3-1 as well, so they've lost 4 of their last 5 games.
Dear. I'm just not playing well really anywhere. I think Khalil Mack's had quite a few really good quarters where he's kind of tried to take over a game, but unfortunately, I don't think one player can dominate a game, enough. You have to have a bit of something on both sides. So for that reason, I'm more on the Rams side, and I think the Rams I'll pick the win.
Yeah, I'm going with the Rams with this one as well. It's in LA. I just can't see the Bears doing it. I just don't think. I think Trubisky's probably done as a starter at the end of this year, and there's not going to be much happening for him between now and the end of the season. And I'll go with the Rams for a win in this one. So we're both going Rams. The last game that we're having a look at is the last international series game of the season. And that is the Mexico City game with the Chiefs at the Chargers. Just having a look, the Chiefs have won 9 of the last 10 games against the Chargers.
Oh, well, they're really going to have to hope that continues because they're sitting on 6-4 at the minute, which is nowhere near where they wanted to be by this point of the season. I think a lot of teams, Mahomes injured his knee and he was out for a couple of weeks, but I think a lot of teams at the beginning of the season would have had them not far off unbeaten.
I agree.
Absolutely dominating, and 6-4 is just what we're talking about there. It's, extra win in the win column, but they're playing this game and then they're going on the bye week. So you kind of want to go in that bye week with that, sitting at 7-4 and knowing, fine, right, we need to get 4 games now after we come back. Oh God, I don't really know. It's all going to be about which team travels best, really, because it is an overseas one. The Chargers, interestingly, I think, in a really weird way, they've almost done in the last couple of years better away from home than they've done at home. I think because basically their home games aren't actually home games anyway; they're basically away games because the opponent team the fans of that team just floods the stadium. The Chargers cannot get any fan base.
It has gone
in LA.
so disastrously wrong for the Chargers in LA that there was obviously the rumours a couple of weeks ago that they were going to be shifted to London.
Yes,
which
Gavin.
Their owner quite spectacularly dismissed.
He had to come out and say that. Gavin and I chatted about this a little bit last week, not so much on the what the owner said, because I don't know if he'd come out publicly and said that by the time we recorded. We were talking about was the logistics about how it would work should they do it, and I was very much on the no. As much as I love the London games, I don't think that it would work having a full-time team over here. And I've got a funny feeling we might have talked about this on multiple previous episodes as well. Gav was for it. He was like, yeah, do you know what? This is the time to do it now. So it was quite an interesting debate. So if anyone wants to catch up on that, go back to episode 55 and you'll get Gav and I chatting about the London Chargers for a good 10 minutes.
Yeah, but right, to the point of this game then, I am going with the Chiefs, I think. Yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs. The Chargers weren't impressive last week away to the Raiders. Another divisional game as well. Both of these teams, again, it's another two teams that had really high expectations coming into this year and haven't really fulfilled them. No. The Chargers more so because they are sitting at 4-6. So their playoff hopes are pretty much done. The Chiefs, as we said, 6-4, not where they wanted to be, but they're still going to win their division.
Yeah, I would think so.
Because you've got the Raiders are 5-4, so they're only a game back, and the Broncos are 3-6, so they're out of it. So it looks like it's between Raiders and Chiefs for that division, and I don't expect the Raiders to keep pace with them over the rest of the season.
No,
so yeah,
they should keep pace with them this week. It's Oakland are at home to Cincinnati, so I think they get their 6th win, which means that KC have to win to stay ahead. I just to clarify, because I don't think I made it abundantly clear, because we kind of went down the London Chargers loophole. I'm for the Chiefs as well.
Chiefs, right? So we've only gone different on one game, and we've gone the same way for the other two.
See what Gav says.
So we'll see how these games pan out.
Cheeky shout out to the absolute disaster show on Sunday at 6:00, which will be New York Jets going to Washington. Ugh. 2-7 versus a 1-8 team. Washington. Was it you that put up the thing in the chat about a happy 1 month anniversary for the last time they scored a touchdown?
Yes, the Washington haven't scored a touchdown in a month.
Oh, that's just disgusting. A calendar month without a touchdown. Oh dear. Wow. Do you know what? It's just such a shame the Cincinnati Bengals are so bad, because I mean this could have, this could be the game for the first overall pick. I don't think it's going to be now. I still think there's an outside chance that Miami might still slide back towards that, but at the minute it's absolutely Cincinnati.
The Bengals aren't picking up 2 wins. The Bengals are not picking up 2 wins.
I know, that's the thing. Yes, so the Jets are already pretty much out of it, and Dolphins have got 2 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
so
the Redskins win this, then
they'll
the
have
Bengals
2,
have got
and
the
then
number
that'll be
1
it.
pick.
You can call it on week 11. Boom, first overall pick's wrapped up. Well done, boys.
Yeah. You can go win a game now.
Yeah. We'll chip one in somewhere near the end of the season. Go and beat the Browns just to really rub it in. Battle of Ohio.
0-15, AJ Green activated.
Beat up on the Browns 42-0. Oh wow, that'd be. I can't believe that. See if we're recording at the end of the season, going, "Oh my God, Freddie Kitchens got done by the Bengals." Black Monday was not. It was savage ending to his season.
He won't even make Monday.
They'll find it straight after the game on the Sunday night. Nah, gone. God, there is an outside chance. How disgusting. Never mind. We haven't spoke about the Browns for a few weeks. That's sad. Yeah, we'll maybe speak about it next week.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see what they do this week. Right, I think that brings us to the end of this episode of the American Fitbaw Cast. So thank you as ever for listening. You can find us in the usual places at the AFcast on Twitter. Search the American Fitbaw Cast on Facebook. Give us a like, share, review, retweet, tell your mates, help us grow the podcast, and we'll speak to you again next week. Thank you.
You've been listening to another great podcast from the Fair City Podcast Network, a group dedicated to connecting and developing podcasts. Check out fcpod.net for more great podcasts and content.